Colts want to wait a couple of weeks to see how Carson Wentz rebounds and rehabs from the surgery that he underwent yesterday before they do anything at quarterback. So for all the people who have been talking about what a great fit Nick Foles could be, what Marcus Mariota could do for the Colts offense, how this team needs to make a move to get somebody on the roster to replace the former fourth-round pick Jacob Eason, who is now running as the first team starter in training camp, the Colts don't agree with that. They believe that they're going to ride with Jacob Eason right now and wait to see how Carson Wentz responds to the surgery that he had yesterday before they do anything at quarterback, and they're not giving up hope that he couldn't be ready for week one, for the regular season opener. Now, again, not ideal in the sense that he's coming to a new team, even though he knows the offense, to work with new players that he hasn't worked with before and can't go through training camp and get timing down with them. But the fact of the matter is they're not giving up hope that he couldn't be ready for week one, which gives you a glimpse into what they're thinking right now, and that they think it'll be closer to 5 weeks than the 12 weeks that they put out there. But they know that it's a surgery. They know it's the foot. They know it's a long-standing issue to work on the bone. And so they're giving themselves the cushion that it could be a longer time, even though they don't believe it will be, and they think he'll be back sooner, which is why they're not prepared to make a quarterback move at this time.
Well, the impact of that timeline is significant. You mentioned 5 weeks. 5 weeks from Sunday is when their season starts. So that would be the most optimistic possible way. There's so many pieces of this story I find interesting. One of them, Dan, I want you to pick up on something you said earlier. This is going to be an injury. Much of this will be determined, how quickly he returns, by how much tolerance he has for the pain. And you told us earlier you think that he has an obligation to the franchise to do that. What does that mean?
I think he owes the general manager, the head coach, and the teammates to play tough. I believe that because the general manager and the head coach very much so stuck their necks out there for him. Chris Ballard, their general manager, and Frank Reich said, we believe in him. We believe that this guy can be an absolute stud at this position still in the NFL. We're going to go trade for him. And I think that because this injury isn't an injury where you're like, well, if he plays on it, it could get worse. It's not a performance hindering. It's a pain tolerance one. And I do think he has to go and play through some pain once they say rehab-wise, you're good, go. I do believe he owes that to them. I also think it's a great opportunity, another one, for Carson Wentz to shut everybody up because he's an easy target for everybody. It's an opportunity for him to come back and shut everybody up. Now, Jacob Eason's got a big part of this, Greeny, okay? I'd say this. The Colts were one of the teams that I was looking at this year and saying, I'm not going to pay a ton of attention to them in September because I think they're going to be a very different football team October, November, December, mainly because how young they are. And they're still waiting for Eric Fisher, their left tackle, to get back. But I think if we looked at a blind resume and removed Carson Wentz's name from this football team, we'd say, wait. Great defense, great offensive line, great run game, really good skill position, great coaching. This is a situation that is built to sustain something at the quarterback spot. Everyone can just relax. Jacob Eason is a big, strong-armed quarterback. Frank Reich will get number one in the progression open a lot. Kid, all you got to do is drop back and rip it, okay? Drop back and rip it. And I think that's why patience is huge here for Indy.
So that's the way Dan sees it. Mike T., I feel like you see it differently.
Completely different. If we took Carson Wentz's name off of this and just looked at the resume, he's 29 years old and he's only completed one season as a quarterback. And the most accurate factor, Greeny, in assessing whether or not a player will stay healthy is past performance. That's just the facts. They need to go get Nick Foles, and I disagree with Adam, not based on what happened in the last 72 hours. It's based on what's happened over the last 7 years. And that's just the reality of his track record. It's the same thing that we saw in San Francisco. Jimmy Garoppolo has struggled staying healthy. They went out and got Trey Lance. This is a good football team. They need a good veteran player behind Carson Wentz because it's likely he's going to get hurt, which is what just happened.
Go ahead, Dan.
Silencio Bruno. That's what I say. Silencio Bruno. Mike T., it sounds like you wanted them to sign Nick Foles like 7 months ago.
That's right.
You wanted them to bring in a guy who's, in the last 2 years, when he started at quarterback, averages 17 points a game. And in the last 2 years, he's 44th in the NFL in yards per attempt. I get it. 2017 was magical, and 2018 was pretty good. But that's 4 years ago. It's almost 5 seasons ago. Nick Foles is the best backup quarterback in the history of the NFL. But this is a football team that, with Carson Wentz healthy and playing the way he has shown in his career, is a division winner and a playoff game winner and a potential run. They are not that football team with Nick Foles, Marcus Mariota, Jimmy Garoppolo, nobody else. That's just the truth. It's a good football team that, because the quarterback can play really good, becomes a really good football team. Yeah.
And I hope Carson Wentz is a great player for a long time, Dan. But he's 29 years old. He's played one full season. It's the responsible thing to do to go get someone, Nick Foles, who costs $4 million, less than 2% of your salary cap. Chicago presumably would give him away. I'm not saying he's coming in to be the franchise savior. I'm just saying it's reasonable, based on Carson Wentz's track record, that he was going to miss some time in the 2021 season. They have a good team. It's the responsible thing to do if I'm the Colts.
Let me get Schefter in here. Go ahead, Schefter.
Yeah, a few things. First of all, Dan, Frank Reich would like to have a word with you about Nick Foles being the greatest backup quarterback of all time. That's number one. Number two, this is a Colts roster that really has been built to make a deep push in the postseason for years now, and it had Andrew Luck retire on that team just before the season began, and it never got the chance to fulfill its full potential because he left. And now you bring in Carson Wentz with a roster built to make that same run, and Carson Wentz gets hurt in the opening week of training camp. And what's interesting to me is we look around the league, and we're about a week into training camp right now. We've seen Carson Wentz go down with a foot injury. We saw Dak Prescott suffer a strained muscle in his shoulder that now is limiting his throws in training camp. Matthew Stafford hurts his thumb. We're a week into training camp. 3 quarterbacks have had certain little issues pop up right now, some bigger than others. And again, you just wonder and hope that nothing else happens. But sometimes this is the byproduct of training camp.